What is up, people of the Extranet? Tyler here with Random Automotive. It's been a little while since I've done a video, so I figured I'd do a video of me doing an oil change on the work van because I have to get it out tomorrow. This van has a few little issues that we're not going to address today. It's got a parasitic draw causing the battery to die, and I do have one trans cooler line. If you see in there, there's two. Both of them are leaking. I don't believe that's a very natural position for those, but we're not going to address that today. We're just going to get right into it. So this van is sporting the 4.6 liter V8 Triton. It is the 2-valve, so it's a old motor, not an old mower, an old motor in a somewhat newer van. So we do take 520 oil, and it does not burn or use oil, so that's good. We just want to check the condition of the cap, nice and clean, no issues there. We're going to put that cap aside, and some of the things that we will need is our drain pan. I'm going to put a little bit of this Lucas Oil stabilizer in there. I was checking the transmission fluid to see if we need to put some in there to, to address that leak, but it's actually okay. I've got a Motorcraft oil filter. This box was beat up as it was shipped, so I just wanted to check the condition of the filter, make sure that the O-ring is nice and intact and everything looks okay, and it does, and I've got some 520 oil. Typically, when I do oil changes, I love the metal belt style oil filter wrenches. These things have saved my rear end more times than I can count. You can see a leak on the Jeep there. But on this oil filter, it's just a little too big for that, and it will not open up anymore. So we're going to have to go a little old-fashioned and use some pliers if we can't get it offhand. These are just another oil filter wrench that'll open up wider. This isn't the best method, and it's got spider webs from the Jeep on it already. But, I mean, you have to make do with what you have to do. And we need a 16 millimeter to get the oil drain plug out. So let's just go ahead and get started. Alright, so underneath, just taking a look at a few things, we definitely have some oil, small oil leaks. Looks like somewhere around the starter. It's a little bit dripping on the drain plug, but I do believe the oil pan gasket's a little leaky. So, not major deals, but something we'll have to address eventually. So our oil drain plug is on the passenger side, about halfway under. You gotta remember this is a van, so the engine is actually pretty much behind the two front wheels. And then if you look over here, here's our oil cooler, our lines, and our filter. So we're just going to pop this drain plug out and take a look at the oil condition. We're going to make sure that everything's open there, or else we're going to end up with a big mess. Alright, so the last bit of oil is draining out, and I've got the oil filter loosened to where it's dripping. I'm going to let some of that drain out before I pull it all the way off. As you can see by how it's beat up, when I tell y'all that sucker was on there, it was on there. So sorry I couldn't get a video of me loosening it, but that was just going to be impossible unless I grew a third arm. So at any rate, we're going to unscrew that and let the rest drain out. Okay, so drain plug's back in. I've kind of wiped the area down a little bit, although it's still wet, but it'll let us know if there's any drips. And new oil filter's in. That oil filter may not look very new, but it's white and my hands were dirty, and you know, it'd be like that sometimes. But it is a brand new oil filter, and just a reminder, fellas and fellettes, your oil drain plug in your filter, it needs to be tight, but it doesn't have to be so tight that you can't get it off. There's a certain place that changes oil that's also a store that sells groceries and other things. I'll leave the name to you, but they love to put these things on with like 450,000 pounds of torque, and it's just, I mean, I understand you don't want it to come off, you don't want it to leak, but there are torque specification ratings per vehicle, and, you know, that's probably what you should follow. So just keep in mind, it doesn't have to be so tight that you have to get a breaker bar out and a torque wrench to tighten these in. I mean, you know, as long as they're not leaking and they're tight enough, you know, tight as you can get them by arm or the torque specification, you'll be fine. So let's go ahead and put oil in it. Now, had this been a customer's driveway, obviously we would have put mats down and avoided just a little bit of drips, but this is my own, so I don't care. So she calls for 520 oil. I've elected to just go ahead and put 6 straight quarts in. That's what it holds at 6 quarts. I'm not going to do the oil stabilizer. I don't really have a need to in this engine. This engine runs great, so I'm just going to run the oil straight through. Got my funnel in there. Check your funnel for debris. Make sure it's clear and start loading it down. I like single quart bottles because they're easier to pour. If you've got a whole gallon and you're trying to hold that up and pour it, especially on taller vehicles, I mean, it's just unadded or unnecessary steps that you have to take. So, you know, I like, even though that's a little bit more trash, I like having the little quart bottles. Go ahead and check your air filter and things like that while you're at it. This one had one put in like 1,000 miles ago or less, so it's good. And there's an age-old debate between folks too of whether or not you should pre-fill your oil filter and if it saves your engine life. And to be honest with you, I've never done it. It just seems like it adds a lot of unnecessary mess underneath, and I haven't seen a benefit versus, you know, filling that up and it being a thing. So, I mean, yeah, it dry starts for a second, but I mean, a dry start for a few seconds isn't going to hurt it. It's running for, you know, a minute or so without oil is the problem. So, you know, you can debate me that in the comments. Some of you may prefer it, but I've never worried about it. All right, so we're going to replace the oil cap. Make sure it's seated. This one does not click, so that's good. 6 quarts later, I've wiped off the dipstick. Now I can go full-on strangulation mode on whoever decided that it was a good idea to put the dipstick way back off in here. I don't know if you can see where the tip of my hand is, but that's it right there. Got to pull it out. You might can see it better from this angle. Fish it out. Let's just make sure that our oil line looks good. It does. It is just below the max. It's kind of hard to see, but we're good there. 6 full quarts. Some will residually drain down, so we're good there. Let's try to get it back in there. Okay, so back underneath. Just taking a look at our drain plug. Make sure we have no leaks. Make sure we see nothing leaking down from our filter. And make sure that we're clear of any debris underneath that we might have left under that could get caught up in the belt or anything. Everything looks good underneath, so we're ready to crank it up. Alright, so when we crank, just understand that there's going to be a moment where the oil pressure reads 0. It's got to build pressure before we get too far into it, so don't be too alarmed. You may hear a little bit of engine clatter until you get there. I understand that maybe the oil filter being filled would remedy that or make it less, but I've never had an issue with it. And we just want to make sure that oil pressure climbed, and it did, so no more lights there. It's beeping to let me know there's a ABS issue, which is the speed sensor on that side. So everything looks good. We're gonna let it run. You can hear it start a little slow, so the battery's a little low. So back underneath, we want to make sure we have no drips on the drain plug. Nothing new there. Same for the oil filter. It's just a little bit of dirt, but everything's good there. No drips from the oil cooler line, so we're good there. At this point, we're just gonna let it run for a good while. Well guys, after about 30 minutes of running, no leaks, and the oil pressure's still good. We're happy with it. So I think we're going to count that as done. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave some comments down in the comments section if you have any suggestions for us. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next one.